Yeah. Yeah.
Look at me.
Bench mob, they're speaking the facts that you wanna hear. They rep a jersey, the vision is clear. Diamonds glisten like a chandelier. You know what I'm here for, like Marshawn Lynch. At clutch time, we do not flinch. Real brothers, we do not switch. Hit home runs with the right pitch. Who run the city? What to do when they hating on you? I feel like Kobe 2010. I taking an L, all I need is a win. Business is business, you know how they go. You playing the seats, now it's time to grow. Tuning now, gotta be in the know. Showtime, bitch, my about to blow.
I ain't seen from now. Miles, he was really.
Next my podcast. What's up, bro?
Plenty Giants during the episode.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're welcome back to another episode of the Bench Mob ENT. We are back. We have tonight with us a special guest, Jason Goldstein. We're going to be talking Giants talk as they were talking before we even started. We're going to be talking about A-Rod's legacy, of course, and a little bit of this crazy weekend of football, like probably the best weekend of football that we've had, at least in our time frames. I don't know about the people back in the 40s. They're not around to tell us, but we'll have to get that. Greg, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, bro. I'm feeling good.
Jason Goldstein, the host of the Bird's Eye View podcast. Thank you for hopping on with us tonight. Tell us a little bit about the podcast, when it started, and like where can people listen to it?
Well, first off, thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to be on Bench Mob. So I'll sort of explain the origins of it. I've always listened to podcasts, listened to a lot of Barstool podcasts, and some podcasts I listen to, I sort of want to give my insight. I'm like talking to myself. And then obviously sports came back after a pause after COVID. There was the Yankees, there was the NBA bubble. There was a lot to talk about going on. So that's why I decided to create my own podcast. My nickname at school was J Bird, and obviously Bird Goldstein. There's no real correlation to that. It kind of just happened. And so one of my friends from school, actually, we did a podcast like through Ohio State, and it was called The Sideline Sports. And my segment was called The Bird's Eye View. Well, we only did that for about a year. The kids who ran it got really busy with it, or got really busy with other stuff. So then eventually I decided I would just go make my own, keep the Bird's Eye View name. So I really talk about really my 5 sports: NFL, NBA, MLB, college football, college basketball. I follow all those pretty religiously. Like, this past episode was only NFL focused, but there's always going to be, especially in season, usually a Giants rant, the Knicks, Yankees, and Ohio State football or basketball. So I always find ways to incorporate those teams, especially in season.
That sounds dope, man. Especially going to Ohio State and being able to do it on your own, just starting your own thing. Trust, we completely understand starting your own podcast and the struggles and the challenges that come with it. We're going to start off right there with the Giants, though. Giants, you guys got your GM. Giants got the GM, right? Who are some of the coaching candidates that you see that you would want for the Giants that will put you in the best position to succeed?
I think number one has to be Dable. And at this point, it seems like it's Dable or nothing. I know they've interviewed Dan Quinn. They've interviewed Brian Flores. And really the only reason to not go with Dable, in my opinion, is having a head coach who has experience. After the whole Joe Judge debacle, you don't want to go with maybe another rookie head coach. Pat Shermer even though he wasn't a rookie head coach, was not very successful in his first stint. If you get a guy like Flores or Quinn, you get a guy who's had success. But in my opinion, you have to go Dable here just simply because the offense has been pathetic the last 2 years. And even the first year of Shermer, it's been unwatchable to the point where I'm turning these games off by halftime just to watch Red Zone. And I'm not even seeing the Giants anymore until it's like, Scott Hansen's just mentioning, oh, yeah, a touchdown happened from the other team. So in my opinion, that's why you have to go with Dable. And plus, I'll be honest with him, he's a rookie. He's going to be a rookie head coach. There's no telling how he's going to be as a head coach. But without a doubt, you're getting the best play caller who's going to be available. I don't think you're going to get a play caller who's as good as Brian Dable is as an offensive coordinator. And, the thing is, you can say, oh, maybe you nab maybe you hire Leslie Frazier and nab Ken Dorsey. Brian Dable's getting a job no matter what, and Ken Dorsey's going to be that offensive coordinator. So I've heard a rumor that Dorsey might come into the Giants with Dable. I can't see that happening. But yeah, to me, it's Dable or nothing.
Let me ask you a question. I've been thinking about this as a Giants fan the last couple of days, and I need to run it by somebody. I haven't gotten a chance to run it by anybody yet. Now, actually, I was going to say it in the next episode of our show, but you know what? Screw it. Let's talk about it right now. So I've been thinking to myself, we get Brian Dable, which it looks like that's going to be the case. We're going to get Brian Dable. Are you interested in this guy, Malik Willis, coming out of Liberty? When you think about the physical tools he has, I think that the guy like him, pairing him with Dable would be interesting, right? I mean, it reminds me a lot of Josh Allen. Obviously, he's not Josh Allen, but they have physical tools, right? Malik Willis is fast, probably runs like a 4.5, sub 4.5 in the 40. He's got an amazing rocket arm. He can throw off different platforms. He does things that Josh Allen does. What do you think about the idea of pairing them together?
I mean, behind running back, I would put quarterback on the bottom of the Giants' needs right now. And that's simply because I think there's so many holes elsewhere. You talk about that similarity, with Daniel Jones. I'm not saying he is, the things he gets talked about, his arm. Josh Allen has that amazing arm and what he can do with his legs. So a lot of, Daniel Jones's two main strengths are some of Josh Allen's strengths. So you're interested to see how Dable can play to that. In my opinion, you're not going Malik Willis at 5 or 7. No way. They're just, you're not in danger of him getting picked that early, in my opinion. And look, I mean, if Joe Schoen goes with Malik Willis, I'm going to trust Joe Schoen because he's our new GM. If he sees a guy he wants and he's going to go get him, that's his franchise quarterback. And my GM, he believes that's his guy. I'm going to believe him. This is outside blood. I'm going to put a lot of blind faith in him, unless he's making mistakes, unless he takes like a kicker in the first round. But I'm going to put a lot of blind faith in Joe Schoen. If he were to take Malik Willis, but right now that would not be like my thought at all. And at 5, 7, even the top of the second round.
I agree on a need-based situation, like, right? You think about O-line, right? You go get Tyler Linderbaum and Evan Neal or Charles Cross or one of these great tackles, right? You fix the O-line with those first 2 picks. That's the consensus among Giants fans. But what the only reason why I came to mind is because I don't know that Daniel Jones is safe. I don't think anyone can argue that he is, right? So how much do you believe in Daniel Jones going into next year?
I've never been very high on him. I mean, don't get me wrong. Coming into that draft, I wanted Haskins. Obviously, there was a lot of bias there. After last year, I was not a Daniel Jones guy. Probably through the first 4 weeks after the Saints game, the Washington game, I was starting to be like, okay, this guy can do it. Look, I don't think he's ever going to be a franchise quarterback. In my opinion, there's not that many franchise quarterbacks, maybe about 7, 8, 9 actual franchise quarterbacks in the NFL. While a lot of guys are guys who are good, but they have things in place around them. That's my thing with Daniel Jones is I don't think he's a bad quarterback. He could be successful back in this league. And if the Giants put the right pieces around him, but the Giants have done everything they could to fail him, not giving him an offensive line, not giving him a good offensive coordinator. But I'll give him credit. I mean, Pat Shurmur actually knew how to call plays to his style. Pat Shurmur just was not fit to be the head coach of that team. So that's my thing with him is if they traded him to somewhere who, I don't know, maybe Denver he would succeed in, or I think the Giants are better off seeing what they have one more year in him, or even potentially, this is something I've, floated around. Shane, they obviously signed Mitch Trubisky this offseason. If they can get him on like $2-3 million contract for cheap, have him come in, be either the backup to Daniel Jones or hell, even compete with Daniel Jones. Because, in my opinion, they're kind of the same quarterback, Daniel Jones and Mitch Trubisky.
I've been hearing that, man. I got a text message today from someone saying, yeah, you guys are going to bring in Mitch, and Mitch is going to compete with Daniel Jones for the starting job. And I was like, is this where we are with Daniel Jones? Is he – because Mitch wasn't – I mean, he wasn't horrible, but he wasn't good. I felt like Daniel Jones was better. I thought that first year with Shurmur, he had a good season outside of the fumbles, I'm surprised where we are with him.
I know, me too. It's just especially with adding Galladay getting 0 touchdowns. It's just, to me, you can't even be mad at Kenny Galladay and say, oh yeah, he was, took the money and became lazy, because the Giants just simply didn't know how to use him.
I agree. I totally agree with that. I think it was a function of the offensive coordinator and also a little bit on Daniel Jones because they had no rapport. Those guys, he wasn't throwing him back shoulder throws until week 8 or 9. It was ridiculous. And with the guy like Kenny Golladay, as big as his frame is, you want to throw him back shoulder throws, let him go make contested catches. Just wasn't nearly enough of that in the playbook and the game plan. And I don't totally blame Daniel Jones for that, but I do have my concern with him is he doesn't make guys around him better, in my opinion, the way that you see Aaron Rodgers do it, the way you see, and obviously Aaron Rodgers is the class of his own, but just the way you see Joe Burrow, these guys, they elevate these guys around them, right? Everyone seems to play better, right? The O-line plays better. Everything just works better when you have a great quarterback, and I haven't seen that in Daniel Jones. I think there's just some fire missing there, which we may not ever see from him. So that's my main concern. But I think he's talented. I do think he's this talent there, like everybody else says. Talent gets you fired. So as Gettleman knows, right? He got fired. So
God, that was the worst era of Giants football. So actually, this one I want to ask you, and this is one, obviously two of the Gettleman's better signings were Bradbury and Blake Martinez. I've been looking at a lot of things where the Giants could save a good amount of money by cutting or restructuring them. So what are your thoughts on what should happen with Bradbury and Blake? Because I keep thinking like those are two foundational pieces, but Bradbury's not going to be worth that $21 million price tag. Could they restructure that? I don't think he's going to want to restructure. Nate Soldier, they restructured his deal where his contract was as much as a dead cap it would be. With Bradbury's, it's $9 million. I don't think that Bradbury would want to get paid that. And with Blake Martinez, I think it was about $5 million. So curious on what you think we can do with those guys.
I think Bradbury is an interesting case because you can restructure his contract, right? But you're going to get production out of him. I thought last year he had a pretty good season, all things considered. I know he didn't get off to a great start, didn't play like an all-pro like he did in that COVID year, the first year we signed him, but he still was a good corner, right? And you pair him up with Adoree Jackson. I love the deal with Adoree Jackson signing. People will get on the Giants about it, and I know now in hindsight, because you're a rebuilding situation, that it may not be the best signing in the world, but he played great football for them. I thought he did a good job. You didn't really hear people miss out of the field, and when you don't hear about corners, it means they're doing their job, right? When you hear about them, it usually means that they're doing bad. So I would say that Blake, they need a middle linebacker. Their linebacking depth isn't good. So I think Blake is a little more invaluable to the Giants than Bradbury is. The corner situation with New York is pretty good. We have a good, defensive backfield. So if I'm going to pick one that's more expendable, I'll say Bradbury is, even though he's a good player. But I think eventually Bradbury is a guy you can kind of dangle around and trade and get something in return for, as opposed to just cutting him, right? You should try that before cutting him. But if you have to, and you have to save because Mara did say he's willing to eat that cap. So there's going to be some cap casualties. I think Shep's already going to be one. I think Shep's definitely gone. And I think that Bradbury's likely could be one, right? Could be if they can't find a trade suitor for him. But I think Blake, because of that linebacking depth, you got to keep him. Yeah, I just don't see how.
I can see with the linebacking depth and with the ACL injury, Blake definitely being open to a restructure.
Yeah.
And maybe even potentially having it extend, basically that dead cap, whatever that dead cap it's going to be, having that be his base salary and extend the rest even until next year. They could just do something because they're definitely going to need that. And linebacker's been an issue since Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, exactly. And Blake was the solution for a while. He had a good first year here.
Used to address it every single year.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I just think there's cap doctors out there, right? You can fix the cap. I do think it's a little bit overblown. I think they will have some money to play with when they go through this crazy restructure they're going to go through. There's going to be a lot of evaluation. A lot of guys are going to be up for sale. A lot of guys are going to get cut. That's just the way this thing works when you bring in a new GM and a new coach with the new vision, right? And Wink isn't going to run the same system that Pat Graham did. So there'll be some adjustments. And that's saying Wink gets it, right? We're just speaking preemptively, but if Wink does get it, or whoever the new DC is, you're likely to see some guys get moved. Leonard Williams is a guy I would not be surprised if we're talking about trading him down the line. That cap hit is crazy.
I honestly I don't mind Leonard Williams, but that if we can trade him, I'd be thrilled because I was always in the camp where I wanted Dalvin back over Leonard simply because I knew Leonard was going to be way too expensive. But there was no way Gettleman was going to let that happen after that trade, and you just knew that he was going to.
Yeah, 10 tech season happened at the right time.
all the contracts last off season. Don't get me wrong, they were of need, but they were such gross overpays. It was a down wide receiver market. Galladay was a gross overpay. It's not like Galladay was coming off this big season. He was coming off an injury plague season where they probably could have gotten him at 2 or 3 less million per year. Adoree Jackson was definitely not 15 million per year good.
Another guy was injured. Coming off injury, you pay him a crazy number.
With the new GM, it's looking like a new day. It's looking like Mara and the Giants are doing things differently. What do you think could be? Obviously, we don't see what the offseason hasn't happened, but with this, it's seeming like a new day. It seemed like a new regime, new moves are being made. What do you think could be possibly the ceiling for the Giants going like next season? I mean, NFC East is weak. We saw what the Cowboys did, made the playoffs, but it didn't matter. We saw what Philly did. It didn't matter. So in a year that might be considered a rebuild, it's the NFC East. So a rebuild could still get a playoff spot for the Giants.
I'd say technically their ceiling is the NFC East, but if this team gave me a year where they're in the hunt, and not like NFC East in the hunt, to like week 15, week 16, even week 17, if they're not in there in week 18, like that's fine. I'm not asking this team to make the playoffs, but get me 7, 8 wins. If they can get 9 wins and just miss out on the postseason, I would be ecstatic. Something that shows me, and I know everyone clowned Joe Judge for that press conference, but he talked about foundation. But actually show me foundation, because look, I mean, they did show foundation in 2020, no matter, how you feel about that or not. I need, show me something like what we saw in 2020, but not fluky. Because, you take away that 4-game winning streak, one of those wins came against Brandon Allen. That's 6-23 in his 2 seasons.
Barely beating Brandon Allen too. Barely beat him.
Barely beating Brandon Allen.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to going back to last season, none of those wins were really impressive.
No, I think the Seattle Seahawks won an impressive win because of the defense's performance against Russell Wilson, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that the ceiling is just to be competitive. I think 8 wins, right? You 8 wins. I think 8, 9 wins would be nice. Yeah, that's going to get a lot of praise around here since you haven't had a season. You haven't had a season like that in a long time in New York. So I would say that's about the ceiling. But again, there's going to be a lot of shifting. We don't know what this team's going to look like.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
there's going to be a lot of reorganization here. We don't even know. We really don't even know if Daniel Jones is going to be the quarterback. I'm not sure. I can't be sure. I don't know that even if they don't draft a quarterback, like I threw out the Malik Willis conspiracy out there, or them falling in love with one of these guys. Even if that's not the case, they may go get a Marcus Mariota and say, hey, man, like come in here and you'll compete week to week with Daniel Jones. If he's not getting the job done, if he's fumbling the ball, you're in, and you're going to carry us through until we go get our quarterback in 2023. So it's tough to say, but I would imagine Daniel Jones is the guy, and hopefully Daboll gets the best out of him. Best case scenario for any Giants fan is Daboll comes there, he's a quarterback whisperer, and he gets the best out of Daniel Jones, and they win about 8-9 games.
I 100% think that's the best case scenario. I would love that, but obviously
fix the O-line.
fix the O-line. Like that's obviously the first priority. And I think Shea knows that. I think Daboll knows that. I think anyone who's coming in as head coach knows that.
Yeah.
So we had a crazy weekend of football, and we put up a poll talking about A-Rod and the Packers, and Jason hit us up and was saying he feels Brady is the GOAT, but he doesn't have A-Rod as number 2. A-Rod. So where do you see A-Rod's legacy after losing yet another home playoff game? They had a number 1 seed. They were favored to get at least to the NFC Championship game. Where does A-Rod's legacy rank in your eyes, and where does he rank in your all-time quarterbacks?
He's definitely in my top 10 all-time quarterbacks. I mean, I haven't thought about who my top 5 all-time quarterbacks would be. He definitely could be in there. He's top 5 in terms of all-time talent. But if you're asking 5 quarterbacks that I would take to win a big game, Aaron Rodgers is not one of those guys. I'm sorry, he's come up short in the playoffs year in and year out. Obviously you're taking Brady. Peyton, I'd probably take Peyton over Aaron Rodgers. Obviously Peyton, a lot of those head-to-head losses were to Brady. But after 2006, Peyton became a lot better in the playoffs. I'd take Eli over Rodgers. I mean, you saw what happened when the two of them went head-to-head in the postseason. And this is just postseason. I would not say Eli's a better quarterback of all time than Aaron Rodgers. Don't get that mistaken. But hell, Joe Flacco gives me, I feel more confident in Joe Flacco winning a better game than Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Ben Roethlisberger for sure. That just fell off the top of my head. There's a lot of quarterbacks, and this is just guys I've seen. Like, this doesn't even include the Steve Youngs, the Joe Montanas, the Troy Aikmans, who have won multiple rings. And look, those guys were all seen as those guys were looked as some of the best talents of their generations. Aaron Rodgers is miles ahead of them in terms of talent, and he can't even make the excuse that he got stuck with Brady. You know, Peyton ran into Brady multiple times. You know, Aaron Rodgers multiple times. They were the clear favorite in the NFC. So I'm going to go through the years they lost. 2011, great, 15-1. You know, Aaron Rodgers, should have went undefeated. They were easily going to win the NFC. Like, you know, the Giants came in and we kicked their ass. I mean, that's obviously the worst choke he's had. There was back-to-back years of losing to the 49ers and 12 and 13. They lost to the Niners. You know, the defense. Some of those fell on the defenses, but you know, those were good Niners defenses. Again, Rodgers didn't make the plays. There was the one game against Seattle where they got screwed with the onside kick. That's not necessarily on Rodgers as much. There was the game against the Niners, the 4 touchdowns. The Buccaneers game, they almost came back, and Rodgers didn't play great in that game. That NFC Championship game against Tampa falls on them.
Right.
There was the Atlanta game where they just got flat out blown out. And, you know, this is a different year, but the year against Arizona, twice against Arizona. One time there was that Hail Mary, and then, unfortunately for them, the touchdown. And there was the one year, like, still one of the most entertaining games I think I've ever seen, where Aaron Rodgers fumbled, got sacked. In overtime, I think they would return the touchdown and win the game, the Cardinals. Those have been – he hasn't had any games where he's thrown like 3-4 touchdowns, with the exception of that game, and they end up losing. So a lot of these are bad losses. There's been conference most of these are some of these are in the divisional rounds. A lot of one and dones. That playoff legacy is not very good. I don't know if I'd put him as the top 5 quarterback of all time. I'd put Peyton ahead of him. I'd put Brady ahead of him. I'd put Montana ahead of him. I mean, those 2 guys are definitely my top 3. Definitely could put Rodgers as 4 or 5. But it's for him. It's choked year in and year out in the postseason. And one thing I want to say about this year, I was arguing about this with one of my friends who said this on a comment on one of my Instagram posts regarding my podcast. He said that it's just a bad take to blame Aaron Rodgers instead of the special teams. And look, special teams technically did lose them that game, but look, Aaron Rodgers set a precedent. He set a precedent. For him, you're the MVP. You literally are posting that this is the last dance. You're considered an all-time great. You can't be getting 0 touchdowns and putting up just 10 points. He shouldn't be in a position where the 49ers special teams plays and the Packers special teams miscues allow the 49ers to win the game. I mean, don't worry, those are bad mistakes, but the mistakes were not drastic enough that it should have completely hindered Aaron Rodgers' ability.
Last 9 possessions, 3 points. So that, again, obviously, I think when you boil down to it, I think when it comes to the conversation of quarterbacks, and we always talk about what their records are, I think that can be unfair because we obviously know that's a whole lot of other factors that factor into it. Of course, now when you look specifically in context at these certain games, A-Rod has come up short plenty of times. And when you look at this game specifically, special teams played a part. Of course they did. But the last 9 possessions of field goal, that's on you. You control that offense. You run that offense. You can't end up with a field goal on those last 9 possessions. Greg, where is your viewpoint on A-Rod? I know we talked on the show. We all was thinking double A-Rod was going to get the win. We all picked him as the regular season MVP. What's your thoughts on this weekend? I don't think anybody really saw this happening, and not this way. Like, we had 49ers as a dark horse, but not Aaron Rodgers playing how he played.
No, I didn't see it coming. I mean, I thought, with the 49ers being the matchup, I didn't think it was a great one. But I was banking on, again, the quarterback matchup being in the Packers' favor, Aaron Rodgers over Garoppolo. I just trust Aaron Rodgers more. But, give the 49ers credit, man. It was a bad matchup. And the 49ers have matched up well with this team for a long time because they do the same thing. It's the same formula for that team. Every time you're looking at great run game, right? They're going to run the ball really well because the quarterback play, and even with their quarterbacks historically, I mean, Colin Kaepernick, they had a run game with him, and they've just always been able to do that. So just a great run game, and they also defensively are stout up front. They get after the quarterback with 4 guys, and the defensive backfield is nothing to sneeze at either. And that D'Amico Ryans was incredible. I mean, he was fooling Aaron Rodgers, which is hard to do post snap, just showing him different looks. So it was a lot of that we saw. So I mean, I'm not really entirely surprised. I'm surprised by the offensive output, but where I hold Aaron Rodgers now is just, hey man, you don't get the job done enough, right? I mean, and we're spoiled as New Yorkers and Giants fans having Eli Manning, who got the job done when it felt like every single time he got the job done. But nah, man, he doesn't get the job done enough. And in a year where he has been a distraction, right? He's been a distraction. We've been talking about him a lot for all the wrong reasons, because and he's been great on the field, but he's held the organization hostage, right? He's like, I don't know if I'm going to come back. I don't know if I want to be here. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool, whatever, fine. I'm all about player mobility, great. But then it's about the vaccine. I don't know if I want to get vaccinated. All right, cool, Aaron, do what you want to do, man. Just don't lie about it. It's like, okay, like it is what it is. There was no vaccine requirement in Wisconsin, and you didn't have to even lie about it. It's been a distraction. It's been a lot. So there's a lot of things factoring into people piling in on him now, and making all the jokes about him now. And I get it, but at the end of the day, as a football player, he's phenomenal. Look, I'm of the mindset that we're going to see a more talented player in this generation. We're going to Josh Allen. Oh my God, I can't believe it.
Mahomes.
And Mahomes, right? Like Josh Allen and Mahomes, these guys are going to be looked at as more talented players at the end of the day than Aaron Rodgers. And they may be more accomplished, which is scary. I know for sure Mahomes will.
Yeah.
Mahomes will be more accomplished at the end of this. Mahomes has a chance to challenge Brady. Mahomes is going to be in that GOAT conversation with Brady. That's what we're looking at. I've never seen anything like it.
I think Mahomes wins a ring this year. He already has a greater legacy than Aaron Rodgers.
It's already done. The conversation's already over. Isn't that crazy? Like
Mahomes different, man.
Mahomes is different.
13 seconds. Dak Prescott had 14 seconds. He did it in less time.
That is ridiculous.
Mahomes is different, bro.
And Dak was closer. I know they did score a touchdown, but Dak was already he was probably like a 30, 40, right? These guys started in their own 20. Different situations, but insane. That
game was just one of the best games I've ever watched. I think Aaron Rodgers, I think he's done in Green Bay. I don't know if he's going to go somewhere else. I don't know if he's going to retire, but I think he's played his last game as a Packer.
I think low-key he might retire. It seemed like Greg said, like a lot of this season has been for Aaron Rodgers, a lot of stuff off the field. And he obviously enjoys talking. He obviously enjoys being on Pat McAfee's show. He obviously enjoys talking politics. I think he probably is just going to retire and go into greener pastures doing other stuff. Like it don't even seem like football is really the focus for him anymore. Not saying the love ain't there, but I mean, even after the game, my man was talking about, I don't want to be a part of a rebuild. So I mean, the Packers won't be a part of a rebuild. Do y'all remember? Hey, A-Rod, you know,
when was the last time they rebuilt?
Yeah, right. They haven't rebuilt my entire lifetime. That's never happened.
Yeah, see, what are you talking about? So to me, him even bringing up that, it's like, all right, he trying to figure out a way to get out. He don't want
that team has had 30 years of uninterrupted Hall of Fame level quarterback play, and he's talking about a rebuild.
A rebuild.
Yeah.
Two rings to show for it.
2 rings to show for it, which is madness.
3 NFC titles.
And the front office shouldn't get a pass in any of this. They have missed on some picks. I saw a crazy list today saying they missed on AJ Brown by 1 pick. They missed on a list of just all pro wide receivers that could help a guy like Aaron Rodgers.
And Jordan Love, like now all of a sudden you're getting they draft Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. At the time, Rodgers, I get it, I guess wasn't compiling the best seasons, but I feel like you still Rodgers under contract for a number of years. Was Jordan Love the right quarterback? Why didn't you wait maybe till this year or even last year to try to do that quarterback?
Last year would have made a lot more sense, right? You wait till maybe Arch Manning's class. You had time. I mean, these guys are playing forever these days. You had so much time, and it fractured your relationship with the guy, and things didn't really go left until they drafted Jordan Love. That's when we started hearing the whispers and the murmurs, and then Aaron Rodgers started talking and going on Pat McAfee, and that's really when it all started. So you risked it for what? Is Jordan Love really worth it? I mean, that's the question. Does he have plus physical traits that I just don't see? I mean, Josh Allen had a a wide open wide receiver 20 yards down the field and instead took Gabriel Davis splitting a safety 50 yards down the field instead, just for fun. I've never seen anything like it. We're in an era right now where quarterback play, it's scary how good these guys are. It is scary how good these guys are. And it is not far-fetched to believe that a lot of these dudes are going to be looked at more highly than the guy like, I mean, Brady. Look, guys are going to be hunting Brady down. Mahomes is going to be hunting Brady down. Mahomes is already the most talented quarterback I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was Rodgers for the longest time. Now it's him. It's insane. And Josh Allen he runs like a tight end, and he throws the ball like from all types of weird angles. He has a crazy arm. He has a hose. It is special.
Incredible.
And then Herbert, come on, man. Joe Burrow.
No, Josh Allen is what Cam Newton wish he could have been. Because Josh Allen can run that ball, but he's way more accurate than Cam ever was.
Can we just admit now that Cam was a better runner of the football than him, though? Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair? Okay, I'm making sure. Okay. All right, I'm just making sure now.
I'm saying similarities. Like, of course, Cam was a better runner, but I'm saying you give and take. So Cam's a better runner.
Oh no, but Josh
is a passer. Good lord.
Yeah, Josh is the better player. Josh is the better player.
Yeah. At
their primes, Josh is the better player. Josh, some of these throws he makes in the different arm angles and off platform. That's what I want out of a Giants quarterback. Okay, that's what I need. I need that. And I see Malik Willis, and I have visions that Brian Dibble can make it work with the triple option and crap. And I really think there's something there.
I'm not thinking about Malik Willis like that at all. He's not even on my radar.
And that's fair. I'm being ridiculous. I'm just throwing stuff out there where the real thing is draft Tyler Linderbaum, fix your line, man, and let's run it back and draft our quarterback the year after if that's what it comes to. That's logical.
100% agree.
Real quick, I want to get your viewpoint on this, and Greg, we probably gonna talk about this on the show, but I want to get this on there because just to have it fresh, we probably gonna drop this episode literally tomorrow. Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts on overtime rules? What should have Josh Allen got that chance to go back and score?
Absolutely. So I've always said though one thing. I don't think the NFL should adapt college rules. You can give me some variation, maybe from the 50-yard line, maybe their own 40-yard line, but obviously not the opposing team's 25-yard line. I think that's too short. Or simply just do it. Each team gets one possession. Then you can say, oh, but one team got two, the other got one. At that point, your defense allowed touchdowns on back-to-back drives. That's on you. Maybe the other team can get a field goal after the touchdown. I get you can say, oh, one team got two, one team got one. It comes down to a coin toss. That time it's different. I think each quarterback should at least get a chance to touch the ball once. They get a touchdown. Other quarterback throws a pick. Just like if the first team kicks a field goal, then it's game over. I mean, the reason this rule got created was in 2010 when the Saints beat the Vikings in overtime. Vikings never touched the ball because of a field, and the Saints all they got was a field goal. Well, nothing's changed where teams in big games like this are playing great and never getting a chance to touch the ball in overtime just because it's a touchdown and not a field goal.
Greg, where's your thoughts on it?
I'm really torn on this, and I was hoping I wouldn't have to answer this question until Thursday.
I know. Thursday.
I'll just tell you. I'll just tell you. Like, I'm torn because with the 17 game they added, it's already tough with the injury management. Now it's harder on teams and player safety, and then now you're talking about giving two teams a whirl at it, and you really should give both teams get a chance to score, and both teams should get a chance to have the ball in their hands in overtime in the playoffs when everything's on the line. Yes, I agree, but you just run the chance of injury. Right, and it affects the next week, and you got to think about it this way too. This game happened on Sunday. They're going to be playing. The Chiefs are going to be the winner of this game. Was going to play the Bengals anyway. The Bengals already had a day of rest at that point, so you're already at a disadvantage in terms of rest, right? And now you're going to add another, 6-7 minutes to this game because look, no one was getting stops. No one was getting stops. It could have gone forever. So I don't know, man. Look, you gave 13 seconds. The Bills are complaining about the wrong thing. 13 seconds, you guys.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's video game. Yo, I don't do that in Madden.
No one does.
I don't do that in Madden. That is absurd. So, yeah, I have a hard time with that, man. Like, that's tough. Like, don't complain about the rule, but they should change it.
So, I think the rules should change in this specific situation, though, Bills need to shut up. Y'all defense did terrible. They were missing.
Man.
For the Bills in this specific situation, of course, as a fan, I'd love to see Josh Allen go back out there.
Yeah.
But just as a general thing, yeah, change the rule. Bills in this situation, that's y'all fault. Y'all should have played D. Y'all should have stopped the 13 seconds. Fine, you don't stop the 13 seconds. Overtime, look, our man Josh Allen has been hot. He's been rolling this game. Let's get him the ball back because we know if we get our quarterback the ball back, game over, we go into the next round. This is on the defense. That's their fault. I think you change the rule only for the playoffs and just to make it simple so we don't hear the, oh, my team didn't get the ball, my quarterback didn't, or they got it 2 times, they got it 1 time. It's playoff football. I agree, Greg, you got to be concerned about, injury and health and, they played an extra 15, 20 minutes and they got to come. The other team got rest. I think you just do another quarter. Do another 15-minute quarter. Boom. Y'all got a whole quarter figured. I don't want to hear nothing after that. No complaints because a whole another quarter. Boom. Everybody's going to touch the ball now. You
That's
touch
what
the ball,
some of my friends said.
I think that's how you do it. Just a straight like that. And for some weird reason, after another quarter, they tie, then sudden death then. But I don't see that happening. Do another quarter. Everybody touch the ball, especially in a game like this.
Or quarter with reduced minutes.
It would have ended the same way. It would have been the 5th quarter, 13 seconds left. Mahomes would have got a field goal. I think it would have ended the same way. But for the fan aspect, because you want to see the other quarterback get the ball, do another quarter in the playoffs. Regular season, keep it the same. Playoff time, do 1 more quarter. That's how I view it.
That's very fair. A lot of my friends also suggested the extra quarter.
Before we get you out of here, we got to talk. We definitely got to talk some Knicks talk. Miles will definitely tune in for this part because he's a Knicks fan. What is your viewpoints on the season so far for the Knicks? And specifically, I really want to hear from you on this. Specifically, what is your views on what's been going on with Julius Randle lately?
So first off, the season's obviously been disappointed. So, I love my Knicks, but I wasn't blind. I came into this year with cautious optimism. But with this team has always been, up until last year, what could go wrong will go wrong. And so I knew, don't get too optimistic. And usually, most of the time, I see a guy like Julius Randle have a breakout year like that in like his 7th, 8th, 9th year, whatever. I want to be skeptical and be like, oh, it was a 1-year wonder. But this was me having hope, believing, no, he's really turned the corner. This was a new system for him, being that top guy. But I knew deep down, I'm like, in reality, he's not really the alpha dog. And even when he had that extension, I was like, I would have rather him gotten another year and, earned, even more. Yeah, it's people say, oh, the extension is actually at a great price. But if he played great again, maybe he would have earned the high price tag. Or if he's playing like this, then we know. Don't re-sign him. We have rooms for 2 guys with the super max. But the team has shown a better culture, but they're still not great now. Like, again, I really loved Randall for what he did last year, creating the turnaround. I think with him, though, he's not used to this, like the New York fans, and that is New York fans. It's what have you done for me lately? They'll go from loving him, and now he's going to get booed. So he's like, oh, so you guys love me, and now you hate me. So he's going to be a little critical of that. He never expected to actually be an alpha dog, in my opinion, up until last season. So it's different. This wasn't a guy who was signed on to be. I don't think anyone expected the Knicks even expected him to be the guy he was last year. So it's weird, and I just hate hearing these. The thing is, most Knicks fans. I don't know if you ever listen to WFAN, but like sometimes I like listen to it just because it's the same person. They all have the same accent and they all say the same stuff. And it's just like I have a friend who all his complaints. I can't talk Knicks, Yankees, or Giants with him because all his complaints he just sounds like the stereotypical WFAN caller. It's like, oh. And even then, like I was against Fournier, so I actually like Fournier has always been one of my all-time slander team for the NBA. Like my friend was like, he's a Nets fan, but he was like, oh my God, the Celtics, I'm so scared for them. Like, dude, all they have is Kemba and Fournier. He goes, watch out. I'm like, you realize Kemba's 100% and Fournier is trash. And then we signed Fournier, and I go, I've literally bashed this guy now, like shooting guard. So I don't like So that I didn't like that. Randall. I don't know, man. I mean, even yesterday's game, people were saying, "What the hell was that Thibodeau drew up?" I don't see if anyone watches basketball, how stupid do you have to be that Tom Thibodeau actually drew up a play that said, "I'm gonna have Julius Randle take it back here and shoot a fadeaway." If you actually know basketball, you'll know the Cavs were playing great defense, and we couldn't even that's the only option at that point. You couldn't even get something in the corner of the Cavs were playing that great a defense. Obviously, I wish Thibodeau could have drawn something up better that in the event the Cavs were suffocating, you don't get that shot. But people legitimately think Tom Thibodeau drew that up, and it's like, God, this is why people love seeing the Knicks suffer, because of those kind of fans.
It's true. He's
most definitely
smartest Knicks fan I ever heard. Hey,
yeah, this is the best Knicks I've heard in a while.
This is he's challenging. He's coming from our spot.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate it. Yeah, no,
that's the smartest Knicks take I've ever heard. I bashed the Evan Fournier trade thing in real time.
And the most honest,
easily very honest. I mean, the Randalls, look, you couldn't say anything bad about Randall in the city, man, after that season he came off last year. I never thought it was a smart idea to extend him for a serious period of time. Give yourself the flexibility. Brad Beal's going to be in the market, right? He's not happy in Washington, right? Give yourself and I'm not saying Brad Beal's not an option, even with this deal being done, but just give yourself the flexibility. Go get guys. Levine was a question mark for the longest time. The Bulls are obviously resurgent, but there were guys and to, I don't know, to tie yourself to a guy like Randall. I'm not saying he's not a good player. He's a nice story, but again, man, those year 9 breakout seasons don't tend to be the realest thing to buy into. You know what, Jason, let me ask you this, man, because I feel like we're nearing the end. What is your take on Rj Barrett? What do you think about Rj Barrett? How do you feel about him as your lottery pick there? I'd like to know.
Hey, Jason, before you answer,
I just want to know. Don't lead him. Don't lead him. I just want to know what he thinks. I actually just want to know his honest to God opinion of Rj Barrett.
I've had people, my friends, especially last year when RJ, I think last year, they're like, "Oh my God, RJ's terrible." Like, you guys, I'm like, okay, you act like any other team at number 3 was not going to take RJ Barrett. Like, he was clearly the number 3 guy in that draft. When people want to clown the Knicks for that pick, okay. The only reason people clown the Knicks for that pick is simply because it's the Knicks. If any other team makes that pick, it's fine. But also, it's the New York fans. We act like a guy like RJ Barrett is what Ja Morant is, and that's one thing. It's like, look, I love the Knicks, but being around Knicks fans and knowing certain Knicks fans, I get why people hate us, because half this fan base is toxic. Like, Knicks Twitter is, Knicks Twitter is a bad place. Knicks Twitter didn't want DeMar DeRozan.
Well, here's my thing, Jason. All my close friends, they'll tell you before that draft, I was texting them. I was like, "Yo, okay, obviously, when the seating came out and we knew where you guys were going to pick, I said there's no chance that this team is going to be able to get Ja Morant or Zion Williamson, 2 franchise-changing players right away. We know that. Okay, cool. So I was looking around. I had been following Darius Garland his entire high school career, and in college, and I loved his game. I thought he was the most skilled guard I had watched come up since Kyrie. Like, that's how highly I thought of him. And I was saying, you guys should draft Darius Garland. You haven't had a point guard my entire life. Draft him. And now they were like, before they were like, all right, you know what? That's ridiculous. You're not making any sense. Like, the consensus number 3 choice is RJ. We're making the choice that all the experts expect. I'm like, that doesn't mean it's right. Draft Darius, and obviously we have no control, but I'm just saying Darius is the guy. But now it's changed to, okay, well, we're the Knicks. If we drafted Darius, he wouldn't even be this good. It wouldn't have worked out. And I just think it's so crazy. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm one of the people that was talking about Darius in that way, but I love Darius Garland game, and that's why I give them a hard time a little bit about it.
I know one of my friends is on the Darius Garland chain. Like, that night of the draft lottery, that was the night of my 21st birthday, and so I was like, you know what, like, God. It's my 21st birthday. Most kids, their plan is go have a crazy night. Obviously, I was going to have some friends over, but it was a weeknight. I'm like, God, if the Knicks get 1 in this draft lottery, who knows how it would have turned out if we got 1.
Yeah.
I will, not touch alcohol for my 21st birthday. Just give me Zion, please. Like, that was all I about on my birthday was give me 1. I mean, I would have been fine with 2. Like, it was just like, of course. Like, that, of course. At this point, that's why I'm very like skeptical that we're even gonna make it in 10. I can still see us being 11, one game back. I'm not giving up on the season because the team is good. My reason for giving up on the season would be Knicks pessimism and just the feeling of what can go wrong will go wrong. It always happens with the Knicks.
I like Jason, man. This is good. It's like all the pessimism. That's normal. That's like the smart Knicks fan thing. Like the pessimism. I don't wish this kind of thing on anybody. I don't wish bad luck on anybody. But like Miles is so optimistic, and I'm like, what? You're a Knicks fan. It doesn't even make any sense. The two things don't go together. They're not married. You can't be a Knicks fan and be optimistic. You got to pick one. And if you're gonna be optimistic, then go somewhere else.
Because then you had Knicks fans who were so optimistic last year, talking like we're gonna go to conference finals. That's our ceiling this year. Man. And I'm thinking, like, God, like, no, this is why, like, now these fans are saying, oh, Randall, yeah, he was a bum, I'm like, this is Randall. Randall is right now. He's who he always was. Right. It's like, oh, he's a fraud. It's like, I'm not going to say he's a fraud. He had one great year. He's playing the way he's always played. I'm really excited about Quentin Grimes. This was a guy, I love college hoops. I love Quentin Grimes. So I've been really high on the Grimes train. I knew he was going to fit right in to what Thibodeau wanted. His game reminds me a lot of Patrick Beverley. I don't think he's not as much of a. Am I allowed to curse on this?
Don't
not as much of a. You know what?
I know. Yes. I know.
As Beverly, but yeah, I just have like I know Knicks fans. Some of them are just like, it's so hard to have like a real talk with Knicks fans. It's not fun. Also the one thing I'm going to say back in the off season, and like I don't see how no Knicks fan got alarmed by the amount of money going towards our former free agents. Like, look, Rose had a good year. Burks had a good year. Noel, at first I bashed the Noel re-signing. I come to realize he's actually very important to this team's defense. But in my opinion, they gave all those guys too much money. And like, how much? We're not going to have that much cap space this offseason with all the free agents that were supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Right. Man, well, we got to do this again, of course. We always like collaborating with podcasts, other people that's on the podcast area, doing whatever type of podcast. We always like to collab. We always like to have guests on. So we got to do this again. But of course, we appreciate and thank you, Jason Goldstein, the Bird's Eye View podcast, all streaming platforms.
So yeah, it's on. I go through Anchor, so it's on Spotify. It's on Apple Music. Those are most of the ones I advertise for. I know on Anchor, but it distributes them through a bunch.
I'll be following, man.
We use Anchor too. too. So
yeah. Definitely. So really, so all the places that Anchor distributes to as well.
Gotcha. Well, you already know the vibes. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Bench Mob, we out. Peace.
Thank you guys for having me. Take care.
Yeah, man.